the last time we were talking about the idea of our quality worlds, right? And how we form a picture of the quality world in our minds. And then we led it on to this idea of perfection. So you remember that image with the child walking into the door with muddy shoes and muddy clothes. And then when
Correct.
you look at that with the idea of perfection, then it leads to a lot of angst, a lot of winning and losing. Either it's our way or their way, all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So one of the questions in the journal was this thought about the shoelace dilemma, and we've had some long conversations about this. Yeah. So let's try to get into this. What would you do if you saw a child with their shoelaces untied on their way to play soccer? So just try to imagine that and try to think what would you say to the child.
So this basically I had answered this question by saying that I would warn him and I would tell him that what are the repercussions of the lace being untied and how he could fall down. So I mean that is what I would do. I would explain him and then probably I would help him tie the shoelace. That is what I had written.
Okay. Prashant, do you have any thoughts on this?
To be honest,
We can't hear. We can't hear you.
here now.
Yeah.
Likewise, exactly the same. I mean, I would make them notice that this is hazardous and might topple them off, and whether they need any help in time that.
Okay. Just hold on 1 second. Darshana's calling. I'll just check where she is. Just give me a second now. She can't find the link.
If you don't mind, my computer will
Okay. So here's something to consider, right? Let's try to think where are these questions coming from? So one is that we're afraid that the child is going to fall and hurt themselves, right? So where's this coming from? Have you ever had untied shoelaces and you've fallen?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah, I think I have, and I think it's also coming from what my parents have taught me, or probably they've always been saying this to me, or I don't know, probably somewhere there.
Okay. And
मेरे साथ तो हुआ है चिदन ये
आपके साथ हुआ है? और फिर क्या हुआ? Let's say that you had untied shoelaces, you fell down, and then what happened?
Then I bruised my knees basically at that time. So उस time पे knee की bruise को ही संभालने के अंदर basically बाकी it was not like you get up and tie your laces and straight away do that. But एक बार ऐसा हुआ है कि खेलते खेलते laces untie हो गए थे और पैर चला गया था.
And was it fatal? मतलब बहुत जोर से लगी थी या थोड़ा ब्रूज हो गया था?
Bruise ही था.
थोड़ा सा ब्रूज ही था. Okay. So Darshana, hi. So Darshana, we're discussing about how last time we ended the session with the sensory camera, where we take pictures of the quality world in our minds, right? And then we led that to this idea about, you remember that image of the kid walking into the door with the muddy shoes and everything. And when we look at that situation from the idea of perfection, कि घर तो साफ ही होना चाहिए ना, तो अंदर नहीं आ सकते. तब फिर क्या होता है, right? So leading that into this was one of the questions in the journaling as well. Is what would you do if you saw a child with their shoelaces untied on their way to play soccer? So if you can unmute and you have any thoughts of what you would say, then please do.
I guess I would just say it's fine. Let's just have a nice cleanup for you and try to just drop it in an area where we don't have to really look at it for a while.
Okay. Oh, so that's with the muddy shoes, right?
Yeah.
So what about this one? So this one is called the shoelace dilemma.
Okay.
If you see a child with untied shoelaces on their way to go play football,
Yeah.
what are you going to do then?
I'd either tell him, do you need help tying it up, or what do you want to do? If you wanted it untied, nothing you can do about it.
Okay, cool. So here's the thing, right? A lot of our thoughts. Oh, one sec. So the question is, where are these questions coming from, right? Are they coming from a place of fear?
Okay.
Is it coming from? So this is still, now we're mixing both the shoelace and the muddy shoes,
I
right?
think it all comes from a place of fear anyway, because we wear shoes to protect ourselves. So
Mm-hmm.
it is a place of fear where when you're wearing shoes,
Mm-hmm.
it's a place of fear because you know that the untied laces, the child is going to fall maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And the muddy part is obviously there, that they're muddy and you don't want to get dirty with it. So the fear factor is always a part of our lives. And as moms or parents, I think we always have a role that we try to look after them and protect them. And it comes from a place of fear, not from a place of daring anyway.
Yeah.
Whatever you do.
So it's very interesting, right? That one of the thoughts which I found very interesting from the whole Krishnamurti ji's idea of how schools should be. So there are these Krishnamurti schools, right? I've never been to one. I've only heard great things about it. But what I
Okay.
found very interesting about it is that his goal was to try and create a place for children where they can grow up without fear.
Okay.
Because so much of we do is led by fear, right? Like abhi wo shoelaces wala hi jo piece hai. So one of the thoughts in the whole shoelace scene comes from this place where, like, when we were young, no, तो वो shoelace खुला रखना fashionable था.
Yeah.
तो हम लोग ऐसे लेस को थोड़ा छोटा करके एकदम लूज रखते थे शूज को. And
Yeah.
that is how you dressed, right? You dressed with baggy pants and these loose
Yeah.
shoes.
Yeah. I remember.
And now what happens is, like, maybe that was our way of connecting with our
Yeah.
friends, of feeling like we belong to this cool group of people, right?
Schools, I'm seeing kids denims which are torn at the knees and
Yeah, yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, here.
What is the
I'm
purpose
getting
of
one of those.
Yeah. Now think of it very practically. First, we used to wear denims which would cover ourselves that we don't get hurt. And
Yeah.
now see opposite is a fashion statement.
Yeah.
Not sexy anymore.
Yeah, yeah. So the question again, so coming back to this whole piece, right? The muddy shoes and the shoelace problem. We're looking at both of those as metaphors, right? As metaphors in our lives. Our problems might be different. We might be okay with muddy shoes in the house.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
But there might be something else we might not be okay with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? So
No, I'm just
here,
thinking again. Sorry. I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
thinking
sure.
again. मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि जो दर्शक कि instinctively हमारा response basically fearless है.
Hmm.
But when you really go through this and really think through or assess the situation, you're like fully present. Then you don't really push the child basically to actually do this. क्या होगा? Nothing, right? It's why to impose ourselves basically onto something?
Mm-hmm.
Is how I might treat it that way. But again, it is also situational as well. अभी अगर मैडम सामने हो तो और बच्चा बिना लेस बांधे हुए तो then it also becomes a part of our duty as well to actually tell them. I mean, in that case, you can't be like fully present as well.
So would you be able to define, let's say, a situation where maybe you need to tell, like, again, this is a metaphor, right? So what would be a situation where you need to tell the child to tie their shoelaces, and what situations we don't need to tell them?
It also depends upon the child as well, right? So my daughter, she wears spectacles, is a little challenge basically with the eyesight or so. So it becomes more important that the protection is actually there basically on the other side. So she can, enjoy the play a little bit, right? So उस case के अंदर एक responsibility type बन जाती है कि tell her कि you want to enjoy the play. It's much better that you go prepared rather than randomly.
Prashant is actually not audible to me. Is he audible to the rest of you?
It's a little difficult to.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm actually just not able to hear him properly.
Sorry. एक second में निकालें. Hello.
Much better.
Yeah, this is much better. Yeah.
much better. Fantastic. So मैं ये बोल रहा था कि again depends upon, I mean instinctively तो role based एक instinct निकलती है कि for protection perspective from parents, but again आप अगर इन सब चीजों को लर्न करते हैं और you just be present basically with that learning at that point in time, which I'm not too sure practically ये सब कितना काम में आता है, but हाँ जब भी कभी आ जाता है, not being too hard on ourselves, then we leave the situation, then we really apply our brains and say कि फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, go and enjoy.
So Kaveh, I think we're at a very interesting point. Like if we, so there are some moments where we might need to tell them to tie their laces, right? And what would those moments be?
See, I have like a 18 months old and a 4 years old. So I am on that watch where I have to tell them. Most of my day goes in that because
the only 2-3 chances you get to tell them, I think, one is when they're really running and you need to tell them, listen, wear your laces, you'll fall. Running, otherwise you don't get a chance to tell them, because when they're sitting, they're not going to bother.
No, so now let's get out of these metaphors. Let's get out of the shoelace and the muddy shoes.
Let's move on.
In real life situations, what kind of situation would require you to instruct? Where you can't let go, where you can't be like, नहीं, I'm okay with the outcome no matter what, कि यहाँ तो मुझे बताना ही पड़ेगा. ऐसी कौन सी situations होती है?
I guess it's when people are not, the environment is such that there's a compulsion. Otherwise, I don't see the need to instruct them.
Actually, I'll tell you, my kids, both of them like to lit the gas stove. Okay, so I have helped them do it like twice or thrice, but then I lose my patience after 3. I mean, I'm like, very good job. Like 3 times I can do that. And after 3 attempts, if they again insist we want to play with fire, I have to tell them that this is not something you can do independently at this stage of time. Again, when I'm like in the evening, like we have a thing where we perform aarti. So both of them actually want to do the aarti all by themselves. And they do not realize that it is dangerous. So again, I have to tell them that no, this cannot be done independently. So these are few things that, I have to keep instructing them that, they cannot be doing these things. My elder one, like sometimes that's what I was also confused how to deal with such situations. But then he comes home and he hears things from his friends which are not very nice. And then he tries to experiment them on family members.
Okay.
So the words like pagal and yeda and all of these, he would try to say that at home. And then it is beyond our control how to kind of, tell him what is the right thing to do. So at these point of times, I think parents are the guide. I mean, they are the ones who would guide them through all of this. And then we really need to tell them what is right and what is wrong.
Yeah, Anushri, if I could expand onto that, Chetan, similar example. I mean, थोड़े दिन पहले हमारी मैडम जो है, राइट, उनको भी गैस ऑन करने का लगा. तो before we actually could realize, there was a smell of all this LPG and all those things basically in the house. I could open the windows and just manage the situation easily, but then there are some visuals like गैस का एकदम सिलेंडर फट जाना and all those things. वो आप कैसे दिखाएं बच्चों को? I mean,
so here's something that I'm hearing. I'm hearing that when there is a risk or a danger to life, then definitely, right? Like in that moment, you will even like use force as well, right?
Yeah.
That is definitely our responsibility.
The second could be when they approach us basically for any sort of a guidance before or so. Third could be if they are open to discuss, we may just give our understanding of the situation and then let them steer through what their understanding of the situation is. Like it could be a competitive race or something that might mean for them. So we might just remind them कि हाँ, you've been talking about this. This is your time. Do you want to be prepared? Do you want to tie up your laces? Or the moments may pass. उसके बाद देखना है बाकी. Full trust in you. Go for it.
Great.
And
And
my 4-year-old basically is trying to understand emotions right now. So I know that most of his tantrums are related to some kind of emotion that he wants to express but cannot articulate in words.
Mhm.
So that is when I try to tell him that what exactly he's feeling, and because of that, what is his action. So I am trying to kind of make him understand that this action is related to this feeling of yours, and that is why you're acting in this particular way. So that way, I'm trying to guide him through that. So I don't know if it is called warning him, or if his
This
shoe,
is great.
his whatever that metaphor applies there, I think.
yeah, maybe it does. So here's why we chose this whole like this concept is called perfection discovery, right? And the reason we chose this whole image of that boy with the muddy shoes is because one day when I was talking to Vishwas about this concept, and I came up with this whole thought, कि यार, we've got this thing, right? कि हाँ, the house needs to be clean, it's our responsibility, all of that. But what happens in the child's mind, right? Like, I feel like the child has come here. He's probably like, it looks like he's probably had so much fun and he's now come here to share this amazing stuff with you, right? And if the first thing that the child hears in this conversation is, dirty shoes outside, no dirty shoes in the house, I feel like there itself, we've blocked that connection, right?
Correct. Yeah.
I feel like now, if you want to like dramatize and make it extreme, which is why, because I come from entertainment, I try to do that. Is that in this moment we become that monster, right? And now the child has only two options. One is to succumb and lose against this monster, or the other is to rebel against this monster, right? But is there a different way? Is there a different way of approaching this?
My understanding is थोड़ा बहुत अलग aspects के लिए, right? The nature of the soul is basically acceptance, right? And that's what child's soul is always, or anybody's soul is always looking for. So shunning them away is definitely, or shunning anybody away basically, is definitely not.
No, and we don't mean to do it, right, Prashant? I
जी.
know for a fact that none of us mean to do it, right? But it's just how we say something that changes everything,
Correct.
Correct. Yeah.
right? And imagine
Correct.
now in that situation that child has come with all this amazing stuff to share with you. Imagine the first thing you say to this child is, "Hey, it looks like you've had a lot of fun." Now he's
Yeah.
feeling with you,
Yeah.
right? Now he's going to tell you, "Oh, I did this, I did that, all of that, all of that." And maybe after he's done telling you, if you request him to leave the shoes outside, they might listen to that as well. Because now you're a
Yeah,
part
they
of
do
the
that.
game,
Yeah.
right? You're a part of their play, you're a part of their game. You're not the monster anymore. You're a part of their world. So that's why we chose this thought. It's like when we're open to discovery, if we can come from that in every situation, right? Like if you take the shoelace or the muddy shoes problem, can our first thing to be is the first thing we do or say, can that come from a place of discovering what's going on with them?
Wonderful. And how do we become that attentive to actually not be instinctive in that moment based upon our conditioning, and rather be attentive? It's a big heap of a task, sir. I mean, I'm not saying it's no. I'm not saying, but I think this is why we are actually in discussion here, right?
Yeah. It's not. It won't be easy for sure.
It won't
But
be
I feel like if we can get there, I think it can do wonders for our relationship.
absolutely. I've seen that a number of times, sir. I mean, एक acceptance, एक single keyword अगर रहे, मतलब before I feel myself, if even before feeling myself, if I just have the idea of acceptance or the word of acceptance all around, basically just buzzing my whole being, that's good enough.
Yeah. And so things change when we come from this perspective, right? When we're accepting,
Big
we
time.
want to discover.
Big time, sir.
And
Yeah. I mean, मैंने Chetan, I mean, to be honest, कभी-कभी बच्चे गलत क्या बोलूंगा, मतलब बच्चे कुछ डिवाइन टाइप की रोड पे भी चले जाते हैं, and they know subconsciously that they are actually on a different track, but when a parent catches them in that moment and still accepts them, that's a big win basically for the kids confidence. Like जिस तरह हमारी वाली हैं, उनके यहाँ तो मदर ट्रिपिन एंड फ्लिपिन एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स ये सब स्टार्ट हो गया 11 इयर्स के अंदर, राइट? तो आई मीन ऑन अ डिफरेंट वे बेसिकली ये लोग अपने एंग्स्ट को इस तरह से एक्सप्रेस करते हैं, बट you pass when they are in that mode with their friends, and you pass through them, and you take that, okay, fine, I understand all that, and when you are with them, let's say on a drive or so, and then you explain to them as to what the process is, that is a big confidence. So they manage it themselves itself कि जब वो full process समझ लेते हैं. So I've seen that change personally as well, but yeah, not saying कि हाँ all good. One good out of a lot.
No,
Matlab, even my child, no, he's fascinated with paints. So he will just get paints and he will start coloring everything and anything that is there existing.
yeah.
It's quite a task sometimes because finally, like, I don't know, but the house needs to look tidy. I mean, I cannot
Anushree,
be
उसी के लिए दिवाली है हमारे यहाँ. So let them paint throughout the year and we paint once.
No, yeah, it's task because then the entire house has to be painted, which I cannot handle. It's too much for me. So now for the first few months I really encouraged, and I know that he loves it. I mean, his soul loves doing this. But then I very politely even tell him that, now this is a place that I have kept for you, the way you can, explore. I mean, there's a huge space and you can just keep doing what you want to do. But the same thoughts cannot be shared by all the family members, no? Like my mother-in-law, she gets hyper when something like this happens, which is like understandable. But I mean, I can approach Vivan in that particular way, but how do I get to others to approach him in this way? I mean, that's a little bit of a task for me.
So I was facing a minor issue that, that they want to explore. So I got these sheets which are for coloring. I put it up on the wall only. It's
You
still
what?
on the wall. You get these special sheets that you can stick on the wall and color.
Really? Oh.
Yes.
And then you just remove them, is it?
You can remove them, change the concept.
No, but it's not just the wall. Then he will choose the sofa like a day, and probably tomorrow I don't know, like the console, or I don't know what it is.
You know what?
So in between, he had this thing. He observed a painter. So he saw the painter scraping the wall. So he observed that and he wanted to do it at home. And without my realization, I was busy with my office and he scraped the wall off. Like, that's how he does it. So
he's a person. Thank you.
That is a little bit of, that's what is challenging for me, because the same level of acceptance cannot come from the other family members. That's what I'm saying. See,
with my son, I've only tried two things. One is I give him the advantages, disadvantages, and the harms that are coming. And I let him decide.
I don't think he's developed that. At 4, I don't think he has that thing to analyze what is right and what is wrong yet. So he does what he enjoys. I mean, I see that he's enjoying this and then he just does it. And then if I tell him, don't do it, Vivad, please, and I request him, he will do it over and over again. I know that too.
Yeah. That is the trigger, no? Have you ever, so one thing is, I think sometimes the best solution is to know that this is going to last for 6 years or this is going to last for 4 years.
Okay. So 6 years, is it? Okay.
I'm just saying,
so
I'm saying that maybe it's for us to get accustomed कि हाँ और 4 साल ऐसा करेगा. I just have to be okay with it for 4 years. After that, obviously, when he's 12 years old, he's not going to color on the walls.
Yeah.
So maybe I just have to learn.
मैं ये बोलूँगा आप एक बार तारे ज़मीन पर जरूर देखिए.
I've seen it several times. क्यों एक time क्यों? I've seen it several times.
I mean, it's a movie to watch actually daily.
Yeah. No, that's true.
So some of these things I feel like when someone asks me, I feel like my nephew also, he loves coloring on the wall and all of that. Right? And then now after 3 years he's moved out of it. He'll still sometimes have his one wall where he'll go and want to do something. Earlier he wanted to do it every day. Now he does it like once in 2 months or something. But in that moment when he really wants to do it, right? In that moment, if you are okay with it, then he's still open to listening you out, to hearing you out.
Yeah, I agree.
No,
Yeah.
right? The moment he starts from the morning, he wants to do something and he's heard no 5 times, that's it. Then you've
Yeah.
lost all connection with him, right?
Correct.
But if he's not heard that no so many times, like out of all the stuff he wants to do every day, अगर उसमें से एक या दो चीज में ना बोला गया है, तो शायद वो सुन लेता है उस चीज के बारे में. जैसे सिर्फ
No, that is right. What you're
ना
saying,
बोला.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. Correct.
And sometimes we don't realize, I don't know, like I've seen this happen around me so much, is that we don't realize how many things we're saying no to, yeah. कभी कभी ये ऐसे मत करो, वो वैसे मत करो. By the end of it, हम लोग
No, and it's not just how many things. It's just how many people saying how many times no. So it's just like the no's multiplied by like 4 others in the house. So
yeah,
it's quite overwhelming for the child as well.
Yeah, imagine what happens to the child, right? The child now thinks, okay, now it's for him. I to see this as survival mode for the child, right? He's like, I को तो wall color करना है. Ab, how do I do this? Because for me, that is survival. To be able to color this wall is a survival thing for me, yeah. So for them, it's like that.
It's just not.
They've heard so much no, then we've lost any control we have, any influence we have on them.
Correct.
Prashant, you were saying something? I think we can't hear you, Prashant. I think you're back.
Yeah. Sorry, some network issues. Chetan, apologies. I was only saying, Chetan, कि ये सिर्फ kids के लिए नहीं है, ये actually सबके लिए है.
हाँ, 100%.
I mean, you say no to anybody at whatever age, whether it is our dadi, whoever, right?
Correct.
I mean, but as we age, right, we become a little more rational, basically, with our desires and all, right?
Okay.
With a kid,
we might accept it and be like, हाँ दुनिया ऐसा है इसलिए हम कर लेते हैं. But does it, like, I'm sure that when that happens to us as adults also, we're not really happy about it, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
It shows on our faces as well, right?
Yeah. Can't hide it on the face.
Correct. Absolutely.
So, so here's the thing. Let's move to what we can do, right? Like now we're discussing all this stuff. कि अच्छा यार ऐसा है, ऐसा नहीं करना है, वैसा नहीं करना है. There's this thought about the two sides of a coin, and most of these questions, all of the stuff that we're trying to say, right? It's coming from our fears, our doubts, something we've assumed about our kids, something कि हमको ऐसे लगता है इसलिए हमको ऐसे बताना है, हमारा सच हमको बताना है, right? It's all coming from there. And that's one side of the coin, and there is truth to that as well. We've obviously experienced life and we've learned our truths which have meaning, but there's the other side of the coin, which is what they are going through, right? And they're living a completely different life from us. And we're there to help them, but we can't really control them because their life is different than ours, right? So we can help and guide, but we can't completely control what they're going to do.
Correct.
It might not be good for them also if we completely do that, right? Because we're coming from our past, which is yesterday. They are living tomorrow. So their circumstances, why, like the whole thing about why that kid wants the shoelaces open, there might be a whole story to it, right? There might be a whole piece of belonging, feeling cool, feeling okay, and feeling fitting into the world and all that. But we might only see it as open shoelaces. नहीं, आप गिरोगे, आपको बांधना है shoelaces. So it's always this tightrope walk between where we are and where they are, right? And
इसके ऊपर थोड़ा सा और डिस्कस करें क्या? Because this looks very interesting, sir.
Definitely. So how do we bridge that gap where we are and where they are? And why are they doing what they're doing? I believe they're very intelligent beings. Yeah, they know what they want. They're doing what they need to do.
वही I think एक वो realisticness in desires is something that as a parent it is very important
I
to
agree.
understand.
I agree with Prashant.
Yeah.
What
No,
does that mean?
I agree they're intelligent. I agree they are open, like they have an open mind. I also agree they're very creative, but uh, few things, I mean, you have to see it from the realistic point of view. I mean,
Sure.
I
How will
mean,
you get there? How will you get to that? Will you get there by telling them what the reality is or what the truth is? Or is there another way?
I think tell them only when it is unrealistic to your understanding. Otherwise, let them be free to explore themselves out.
But still tell them?
Uh, uh,
Is there another way? Can you do it by any other way other than telling them what it is?
yeah, I mean, this is where I think leadership counts, right? So you
so I
observe
think
that.
no, but a
And
lot of people have told me that you have to be the change, like you have to be that, and then they will probably adapt.
yeah,
That is what a lot of people have.
Sure.
But sometimes, how can you be that? Because you're an adult and they're a child, so you cannot be that. That's what I keep wondering. So, I mean, I can have coffee, but I cannot let my kids have coffee. I mean, they are not of the age to have coffee. So, how can I have to tell them that you cannot have coffee till you're the age of 12? So, that's how it works.
यही पता है यही I think Archana, sorry, apologies. Anushri,
Yeah.
यही I think जहाँ तक मुझे समझ में आता है यही I think the feeling of sacrifice for in the endeavor to join or be one with the kid या किसी भी relationship के अंदर I think
Prashant, it's unrealistic. I mean, you
unrealistic
are
है.
telling me that you would leave coffee so that you
या
can be one with your child or what?
जब वो ना हो उस टाइम पे अपन पी लें जब वो ना
नहीं
हो
यार
उस टाइम पे.
Prashant, this is not practical. See, they are going to be living in this world. If their mother is not having coffee, some other elder is probably having coffee, or coffee is just a metaphor. They're doing something. I mean, like I'll tell you, for example, like if I'm applying lipstick, my niece is watching me and she also wants to do it, which at this age is not allowed. Like allowed or basically is not needed, for they're already so beautiful, they don't need to do that. But then some things, they are not in our control as well, and acceptance is important from this age. That's what I feel. The kids have to start accepting that there are few things that are not meant to be, like they cannot be done by them.
बच्चे वही करते हैं जो उनके मॉम डैड करते हैं. ये फैक्ट है लाइफ का. ये फैक्ट है लाइफ का. और कुछ चीज है नहीं बच्चों के लिए करने के लिए. अब आप ये सोचें कि हम कर लें और वो ना करें तो इट्स अ बिग कॉन्फ्लिक्ट मैम.
I don't know. I mean,
I understand. I understand.
So there's both, right? There will be some situations where you still need to do what you do, while not wanting the kid to do it because they're children.
yeah.
And there'll be some situations where you might be like, हाँ शायद मुझे भी ये नहीं करना चाहिए.
Exactly.
And that will differ for all of us, right? I might think one thing is okay, and someone else might be like, no, that's
Correct.
not okay. So it all
Correct.
be we'll have our own ideas of what we feel is okay for us and what is not. But coming back to this whole bit, that this void, right? This distance between where we are and where our children might be. We want to discover that, right? We want to get to that point, get to understand where they are coming from. Because if we don't do that, if we don't attempt to do that, then we're just telling them our past.
My understanding, Chetan, around this is we've got to understand first of all, where does a human being come from, regardless of any age, right? I think that level of understanding, where does a human being normally come from, is not very common. I struggled basically for a long time to actually really understand where do people really come from, including me.
So Prashant, that also you will have a different opinion on it. I will have a different thought.
Agree.
I'm sure 15 people will
Agree.
have 15 different ideas,
Ji.
and we might never be able to agree.
Ji.
So
I think
how do we do this, right? If we're even if you take children, our children and us, or you take you and me, if you are somewhere, I'm somewhere else. How do
one
we
of the ways that I manage, Chetan, is I forcefully bring in the angle of respect, right? Even if it is for the children, because I think that's something that is uncompromisable at all, right? And then you can you have to give them their space, right? That's very respectful towards them as well. You cannot force them. Force से तो कुछ होता नहीं है सर. इतनी life में इतना तो सीखा है.
So here's something
I
that
love you. Yeah, I also usually, Chetan, do that. I tell him that now, see, this is going to be the replication of what you're doing, and now it is your choice. So sometimes, he runs away with a pack of chocolates and then he says that I would eat everything.
of
So
course.
running behind him is like an option, and then yelling and forcing him. And then I even did that at one point of time, but that just ended up in a tantrum. So from after that, I told him that this is going to be the replication, and we will have to be taken to we will have to take you to the dentist at some point of time, because the cavities will develop, and now it's your choice to decide. But you know what happened later? Now he's developed an anxiety about doctors and dentists. So even that is scary. So I don't know how to kind of put it.
Here's the thing, right? Here we're all coming from this place where, I mean, it would be so wonderful if the child himself decided कि मैं एक ही खाऊंगा chocolate, right?
Yeah.
It would be so sweet if they themselves come to that, right? And we're trying to see, is there a way, is there a possibility of bringing them and helping them get that control within themselves, right? And do you think, like, what do you think happens when we tell them all these things, even in that situation that we really, really need to tell them, right? Which we were discussing earlier. Wo situation maybe when we're telling them, what do you think happens to a child? Let's say if you were to do something and someone's just telling you ये वैसा करना है, ये नहीं करना है, वो नहीं करना है, आपके अंदर क्या हो रहा है जब कोई आपको tell कर रहा है, right? Think about that and change that to when somebody asks you questions. Does it feel different inside you? Instead of someone telling you what to do, they're asking you.
It does, absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like when you come to it, it might be difficult to initially start doing this, right? Because we're so conditioned to say it, and in that moment, it's like हमारे भी सब emotions ऊपर नीचे आ जाते हैं and वो सब निकल जाता है. But if we can stop that there, and if we can ask questions instead,
Okay.
something very different happens. And if we want our children to have their own control, for them to themselves learn and grow and improve, and at some point maybe not even need us, right? If we want to get to that point, then questions is what it is.
But Chetan, tell me something, that if you not warned them earlier, how would they really answer to the question? So if I tell him, Vivaan, do you know what will happen if you have so many chocolates? So he would be like, no, mom, I don't know. So,
then you all can discover it together, right?
Okay.
Maybe then it's a discovery, and maybe he's still engaged with you in trying to find out अच्छा कुछ है, कुछ जानने को मिलेगा आज. लेकिन जब आपने बोल दिया कि विवान देखो 50 चॉकलेट खाने से तुम्हारे दांत सड़ जाएंगे और ऐसा वैसा हो जाएगा, he's not engaged in that, right? He's still thinking of
Okay.
He's not connected to you in that moment. He's just like he doesn't want you to stop him from eating the chocolates. He's just thinking of the chocolates. But when you ask the question, he has to think, right? When you ask the question कि क्या होता है, हाँ मुझे नहीं पता. अच्छा फिर maybe you all can discover it together. You'll maybe ask another.
Together. Okay.
But there he's still
Yeah.
connected. He's still thinking about it. He's not lost
Right.
it.
Right.
Right? So we ask questions to clarify, not to confirm. कि तुमको
Yeah,
पता
so basically the change is coming from within. It's not forced on him. That's what you're saying.
And that's
so that
the only
thing has
time.
to be initiated from within. Okay.
And that's the only way they are going to slowly over time develop that control themselves.
Control.
Right? If we
Okay.
tell them, if we always tell
Okay.
them, what are we training them? We're training them कि boss जब problem होगा ना मैं आके बताऊंगा तुमको क्या गलत है.
Right.
Within
And
them,
then
they
again,
don't
the
need to
dependency
discover.
on me increases. Right,
Yeah.
right. So, yeah.
So we need to help them discover, right? Help them be engaged in discovering what is right for them and not right for them.
Okay,
This
very
is going to be
nice.
the
Yeah,
guidance,
okay.
right? So
Uh-huh.
clarify, not confirm. If you change that whole chocolate thing, right? कि विवान तुमको पता है ना 50 चॉकलेट खाने से दांत सड़ जाएंगे तुम्हारे. Compare that to विवान आपको पता है क्या होता है 50 चॉकलेट खाने से? आपको पता है चॉकलेट किससे बनती है? Then there's some
Mm-hmm.
engagement happening, right? There's something that's
Right,
different there.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
That's a
Yeah,
very nice
that's a
perspective.
very,
Yeah.
very nice one. Yeah.
Very, very nice. Very interesting. Yeah.
Then there's discover meaning and not answers, right? A lot of times we're just looking for that answer from our child. कि अरे
Correct.
आपको पता है ना ऐसा, I'm like हाँ मम्मा मुझे पता है. Whereas discovering meaning क्या है? अरे आपको 50 चॉकलेट खानी है? क्यों? इतनी सारी चॉकलेट क्यों खानी है आपको? क्या हो गया? Like might be something to it. He might have seen some video where a kid does it or whatever. He might realize that
Mm-hmm.
अच्छा नहीं मैं maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I was just lost in some thought. Or maybe I was doing it because I was saying, so I was said I shouldn't be doing it. Maybe that's why I want to do it. I don't know. We'll discover something through that question, right? If we discover why they want to do what they want to do, when we're not looking for an answer from him.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And then there's commonalities, not differences, right? So
And do you
key
think
one.
if he's unable to articulate it in words, should I just leave it at that? I mean,
so I guess it'll be different in different situations. Maybe you
correct.
can ask him whether he wants to find out what happens, or maybe I don't know. I
Like
think
if he doesn't want to share something, so usually we keep telling him that Vivan, sharing is good, so you have to keep sharing it with your brother or whatever. And if he doesn't want to, probably if I put it in that way and he's not able to articulate that, whether he's not sharing because he's envious of his brother, because right now they both are in that sibling rivalry mode. They both want their mother.
yeah.
So basically the elder one wants me more.
Hmm.
So it's not about the toy, but it's basically about doing something which will hurt the younger one. That is how it is.
Hmm.
So probably I can, try to just put it in a question and leave it at that. I can even do that, right?
You can,
So,
you can leave it there. You
yeah,
can talk about it 2 days later also.
yeah.
I think in different situations you might start seeing that maybe they have something to say, right? Which we wouldn't have even imagined कि क्या
Correct,
क्यों उसको ऐसा फील हो रहा है या क्यों ऐसा कर रहा है.
correct. Yeah.
So one of the tools to asking good questions, right, is the 5S.
Okay.
There are these 5 S's to asking questions. And if we can really try to get there, I think over time, and it's not easy again, right? It's almost like a practice. It's like मैं कल जाके 3 दिन के लिए योगा कर लिया तो I won't be able to get there. But if I'm doing it over and over every day for 5 years, then it's just in you. That's just who you are, right? So that's where we want to get with this 5S kind of stuff. So the first S is short question.
Okay. Short question.
Prashant, you're mute, huh? I can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry. Can I just interject for a little bit?
Yes,
Right?
sure.
दो चीजें, if I remember it right. First, clarify, not confirm, right? And seek meaning, not seek answers. And I think the third one, which is very, very interesting, is find commonalities, not differences. We are in a world of differences, Chetan. Right? We live in a world of differences. There are differences. Well, it also depends upon the mindset as well, right? When you focus on differences or you focus on commonalities. I mean, but from how would you एक example देके आप थोड़ा सा समझाइए कि what do we actually mean with this third point, please?
So when we build commonalities, right? When we find commonalities with our children and us, I feel like finding commonalities is what helps our relationship build better. There'll always be differences, right? No matter what you do, ऐसा नहीं है कि नहीं हमने सब 100% commonalities कर लिया है अभी वो तो कभी नहीं होने वाला है.
ये
difference.
तो स्पिरिचुअल जा रही है बातें, पता है चेतन, ये बातें थोड़ी सी स्पिरिचुअल एंगल की तरफ जा रही हैं कि वन सोल, आफ्टर दैट एवरीथिंग इज डिफरेंट, सो लेट्स कनेक्ट एट द सोल लेवल, राइट?
No, so take it as the simplest thing, right? Like I'm saying that if we're always focused on okay, what we need to do and what they need to do on the differences, right? If a large part of our day is always going through the differences, imagine what happens to our relationship with our children.
Yeah.
But if we can find those commonalities every day, things that you both of you all like the same, and focus on those, your relationship changes. Your connection with your child changes. They'll be way more open to listening to you. You will be way more open to listening to them as well, right? Both ways. So if we can
Wonderful.
focus on the commonalities and not our differences, there'll always be differences. We will always have things that we want to tell them to do. They're not doing it the way we want them to do. But if we focus on those things, it's not going to do good for our relationships at all.
Yeah. Correct. Absolutely spot on, sir. So on the right, I understand these are more instinctive. On the left are more conscious choices, right? That we make.
I think once we start living a certain way, the left will also become instinctive.
हाँ वही practice करना है. Absolutely
और वो
right.
शुरू में मुश्किल लगेगा, पर एक बार वो हो गया तब फिर I to say that then life is a dance.
Wonderful.
So the 5 S's, right? And the first S is short questions. So it's like an espresso shot, right? It's like really little bit of coffee, but it's so potent. So when our questions are short, it helps us gather our thoughts, right? Sometimes हम लोग question पूछते हैं, अरे इसका वो और उसका वो और ये कैसे और वो कैसे. But if we can keep it short, then we know what we really want to know as well from that question.
Okay.
When you ask a shorter question, they get a time to respond, right? They have to say something. If we ask
They get time to process also. Because
Kind
the
of.
longer the question, they will just leave it at the first 2 words.
And you know, surprisingly, the longer your question is, no, it's very easy to do a yes or no answer.
Agree. Yeah,
But if your
absolutely.
question is really short, then they really have to talk.
Yeah, correct.
And that way there's engagement, right? You ask a question, they say something, you can ask another one. So that's what we call scaffolding, where you ask
Okay.
one question that leads to something, then you ask another one that leads to something.
Yeah.
And when you ask a short question, the responsibility of really thinking and responding, it gets transferred to them.
Correct.
That means they're engaged in this conversation.
Yeah.
But if we ask really long questions, right, वहाँ responsibility हमारे पास ही है, क्योंकि हमने already answer question में ही बोल दिया.
This is nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's sharp questions. So
Okay.
Short and
So
sharp.
you know this is like a scalpel, right? So the reason we use that image is because वो scalpel से जब कुछ cut करते हैं तो वो literally pen के जैसे ऐसे इतना सा cut होता है, right? Whereas अगर हम knife use करेंगे तो you cannot do that. You have to bend.
Correct.
So we want the question to be sharp. We want to exactly precisely open the bit that we want to open, right? And when you really ask that sharp question, you have to know what you want to know as well. A lot of times we don't know. हम लोग बस वो एक frame में कुछ बोल रहे होते, उसमें question पूछ लेते हैं. We've thought about that maybe half an hour ago और हम अभी पूछ रहे हैं. But if we can find exactly, so short and sharp both, right? If we can find exactly what we want to know and be so precise with our question, there's no way they can go. They will respond.
Right.
And again, this sounds like Prashant said, this sounds all spiritual and all of that. Stay with it, see where it goes. And it maybe it might be a little bit. But you might find once you accept that, right, you might find it very easy as well in like everyday thing. Once it clicks in minds, right, it can get much easier. Simple questions.
True.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Sometimes, sometimes our language is so different than their language,
Very different.
and you'll be
Most of
surprised
the times.
if we can talk their language. No, you'll be surprised how open they might be to receiving it.
Yeah.
And so, sweet is when you get the short, sharp, and simple correct. It will feel sweet to you. You'll see them respond, or you'll see them lost in thought, thinking, contemplating.
So it's short, sharp, simple, sweet.
And then
Okay.
there's the fifth S as well.
ये तो communication 101 है, sir. I mean, this is not just for kids. This is for all communication that you do, right? With
Definitely.
anybody.
Definitely. And when you do this, no, when you can have that conversation which has silences in the middle, and then it leads somewhere as well, that conversation feels completely different. When
Correct.
conversation is filled with silences and still
Correct.
continues,
Correct.
it's something else.
Hmm.
So that's the 5S.
Great. Thank you. Mhm.
And like we
Which
said,
is the fifth one? It
silence.
is
Silence.
silence. Okay. Okay. Silence.
Oh, did you not see the slide? It says, let me go
No,
back.
I couldn't see the slide.
Oh,
There's a
so
slide.
the fifth one is silence. And
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have seen this movie called The Matrix.
Hmm.
No,
But
I haven't.
there's this guy from The Matrix, and he's telling you, what if I told you that shutting up and creating moments of silence is the best thing you can do for your kids?
Right.
And it says that your calm and silence gives the children the permission to think.
Yeah.
And you can try to hold that silence for them as long as they want it.
Hold it for hold the silence for as long as they want it, right? एक तो Chetan, in today's working world, right, when there are modes of other modes of communication as well, like emails or so, अब आप उसके अंदर silence and all, I mean, it just goes into a different direction of maybe getting a silent treatment sort of a impression. You see?
So think of silence as, I mean, when I imagine silence, no, I don't imagine it as a full stop. I
Yeah.
imagine it कि अगर ये ऐसे tied है, तो ये बहुत loosely tied है. So I see silence as that. I see it in a way that when you say something and then there's a lot of silence before the next person says something, and then there's some silence before you again respond to that. Whereas generally हम लोग एकदम एक rebound के जैसे टक 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 टेबल टेनिस खेल रहे होते हैं, right?
Correct.
But आप imagine करो कि वो आप लंबा वाला टेनिस खेल रहे हो कि आपने बॉल मारा है, अब वो बॉल वहां पहुंचेगा, फिर धीरे से वो वापस मारेगा, स्लो गेम खेल रहे हो, ऐसे इमेजिन करो.
Yeah. So
That's what I
that's
see
what,
silence as.
yeah. I mean, I could relate to कि speed से related है ये चीज, right? We try to sync up, well, based upon the environment we kind of get influenced from, right? The speed of our system naturally tunes up to that sort of an environment. So sometimes it becomes important to be again more conscious that what you drive the speed rather than the speed of the environment drives you.
Yeah.
Just a query.
Yeah.
The 5 S's, one was the short questions, sharp questions. After that, what was it?
Then it was simple,
Yeah.
sweet,
Okay.
and silence.
Okay.
I'll send the PDF as well, so you guys will have this whenever you want. Check it out again. And then there's this
Chetan,
there's a Bruce Lee photo on top. The reason I put that in the end is because, and we've discussed this through this session as well, that this is going to become a practice, right? This cannot just come that now we've gone through this, so kal se you'll start being able to do it. I think if you start trying to do it, it's going to become slowly a practice, and then one day it'll be easy as instinct. Prashant, you were saying something.
No, just a thought crept in my mind. I mean, is particular slide ko where it actually encapsulates everything. It's much better to actually have a poster printed out and stuck on the wall, and so you see it over and over again.
Yeah.
And consciously keep reflecting upon, since the last time you saw it until this time, have you actually applied this learning or not, or where can we apply it? So that could be a very interesting activity to actually add to your activity schedule.
Definitely. And we can, so one is that we'll anyways be giving you the PDF. So if you want to print it yourself. The other is if we want to do this together as a group, generally what we do by the end of the sessions, right? We try to create our own anchors. So in Vishwas's course, we used to make t-shirts. So there's one t-shirt we have which has shoes with open shoelaces. And it says that the world of possibilities begins when the idea of perfection ends. So that was our anchor to remember that, right? And maybe that's something I'll talk to Vishwas. Maybe for us as a group, maybe we can find stuff that we relate to and maybe make anchors for ourselves.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. Yeah.
So that's it. That's today's session.
Thank you, Chetan.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed
Oh,
it.
it's wonderful. Wonderful. A new
Very, very
perspective
Yeah.
until Sunday.
Nice. Until Sunday, yeah. So you all are going to have a very different experience on Sunday because it's going to be so potent now.
Brilliant. Any teasers around what is it that we should expect on Sunday?
It's going to be brilliant.
ये दिल मांगे वो types हो गया अब ये तो.
No, it's going to be brilliant. Sunday is going to be damn good. There's
Brilliant.
curiosity is one piece. Just
Okay.
understanding curiosity, because all of this discovery instead of perfection, all of that comes from curiosity, right? Curiosity is going to be a big part of Sunday's session.
So there was no assignment this week, right?
There was. You want me to check it out? One sec.
So we've not applied anything. So do we do the assignment yet, or I don't know?
Yeah.
We can, right? Yeah. Okay.
You can even relate it to earlier. It's not just this week, right? You can relate it.
Okay.
And do it. I'll read out the assignment to you all, just so that it's there. So wait, I'll just share my screen and show it. Yeah. So were you able to catch yourselves when giving instructions to your kids? That's one.
Okay.
Were you able to change any instructions to questions? Oh, actually, you might have to try and do this now before Sunday. Were you able?
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Were you able to change any instructions to questions? And did the 5 S's of asking questions come into play? And how many times did you say no to your child? Was it a lot, or was it just some non-negotiable things? Actually, all of these, I think you need to do it in the moment. Can't take it back.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Chetan, I'm just collecting all these assignments for when I'm in the vicinity of the child, then I can do it, right?
Yeah.
Apologies. I mean,
no, I would say all of this stuff, no, even later, like 1 month after the course also, you can just read the PDF and try to do those journaling questions by yourself. It'll work at any point.
अभी तो सिर्फ connect phone पर ही है basically this month, to be honest. Apologies for that.
No worries. Cool. So
Chalo.
I'll see you guys on Sunday.
Yeah. See you on
Thank-
Sunday.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Nice speaking.
Thank you so much.
Bye.